I'm having issues with my phone storage lately. I'm out of storage space. Maybe I just take that many pictures of my garden and my kids. But I'm going to try to get a fall garden tour. I missed September. It's now early October, but the weather is still very summer-like. Right up until this coming weekend. It's still going to be in the high 20s Celsius, which is very warm for us for October. The Luffas have not yet started to turn yellow. Really want them to start turning yellow so that I can start peeling them and bring them in. We don't have any frost in the forecast for the next little bit, but it's coming. It's coming. If it doesn't come this weekend, it'll definitely come the weekend after. That's my prediction. And I mean, if it doesn't come the weekend after, then where are we even living? I love these Luffas so much. It's been really hard to walk under them. The weight of them has lowered this arch trellis a little bit. But, you know, they're worth it. They're worth bonking my head on them every time I walk through here because they're so cool. And we just want them to turn yellow so that I can peel them. This bed has some fall stuff in it. Things came up very sporadically, not consistently. So luckily I threw like 10,000 seeds in here and some stuff did come up. We've got like random patches of buttercrunch lettuce, a couple beets. I'm not gonna have enough beets this year. Last year we ate all through the winter on our homegrown beets, but I don't know, maybe I just didn't put enough space to beets in the gardens this year. We're almost through them already. Arugula, arukai turnips, those little white radish-like turnips. We've got carrots left over from summer sowing. Holy, that looks like a large carrot. This is a broccoli. I planted a bunch of broccoli, like started them inside and planted them outside for fall garden, but they did not like the weather, I guess. It's really, really hard to do a fall garden in my climate. We have seasons that pretty much go from winter to summer to winter. There's some little, I think that's buttercrunch. This is coming up because I saved the seeds from the lettuce. I brought most of them inside, but then I took some plumes of lettuce seed like this and I just crumpled them all over for a little surprise lettuce. So the peas, my fall peas, not happy. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because it's been too hot. But yeah, I started these inside as I always do, and they've just been struggling. I've been keeping things watered. When you have warm fall weather, you can't forget to water things. This plant is okay. This singular pea plant from a whole row. Whatever, peas are just a bonus for us in the fall. Pak choi and a random spinach. I just threw so many seeds in here, hoping things would come up. We have like a golden beet left randomly, but we've eaten through most of our beets. And the beans have to come out soon, but I'm saving seeds from them, from what's left of them. And so eventually, this one's almost dry. They'll dry up and the seeds are beautiful, I think like indigo color. They're gorgeous. This is from a different colored bean, but also saving the seeds from this. There's a few strewn around here they're saving seeds from. These bean plants are just so recommendable. I sowed them in May, which is early for bean seeds to be sown here in my area. Still pretty cold in May, but I kept them under cover and they grew, and I was harvesting beans early June and have not stopped harvesting beans from this single 8-foot row until October. We're still picking some. It's been amazing. Not much going on in here. This is just some fall stuff, some edamame that I was going to save seeds from, but the critters are also getting into them. I'm loving this apple tree right here. It's finally starting to take shape. That's a 2-year-old apple tree now. And then these little guys, that's one. That's one. Those are 1-year-old apple trees planted this spring. This is going to be the native cottage garden eventually. Things are just starting to take hold. But we have this aster. I think it's a New England aster. It's closed up because it's morning. Looks so neat. The big change around here is the pool. We've gotten rid of the pool. Everything's such a mess right now. I mean, it could be worse. But it's become this giant sand pit for the kids. This will be all leveled out properly and not a circle anymore. And we're gonna put some crushed limestone down. And I think we're gonna do flagstone this whole area. We haven't gotten the shape quite figured out because of course we have the raised beds. The potager garden is framed in by a semicircle. Oh, mirror image. This is really hard to do. And so making this area square is going to take some creativity, I think. But this eventually is going to have a pergola. So the gazebo, I don't know if that's going to stay, but we're going to do something here where this is all covered with like a wooden pergola, grapevines, harvest table, outdoor kitchen. This is what I'm most excited about. Anyway, let's stop looking at the house. The pepper bed is still pumping out peppers. I've been so happy with the peppers this year. So happy, in fact, that I'm going to devote this entire bed to peppers next year. I'll still probably stick the odd nasturtium in and whatever, some spring things. But right now I've got the dahlias in here and they just fell over under their own weight. I'd never grown them before. Didn't realize that happened. And they're still putting out buds, but like these things were towering above me. They were probably 6-foot tall plants coming out of a 3-foot high raised bed. They were monsters. And I had some dinner plate dahlias in here and just some family heirloom dahlias. It's kind of sad that they just all fell over and broke, but whatever. This year or next year is going to be all peppers. The peppers have been doing superbly in here. I've been picking beautiful yellow bell peppers every couple days. We're getting sick of bell peppers, which is awesome. I just don't have the time to preserve anymore right now. These are a little sweet pepper. My cayenne did not do much, but it was completely covered in dahlia plants. That was this guy here. It's so tall, it just shot up to try and get some light. And my lemon spice jalapeno, which I grow every year for cowboy candy, has been really slow to come on, whereas all my other pepper plants were producing in June. These didn't really start getting going until September, which honestly is very typical of peppers in my area. Look at these guys. Massive. Next year's pepper bed. The cucamelons have been wonderful. I need to pick them again. Every couple days I can fill a pint jar to ferment and make pickled cucamelons. They're so good. That's easy and quick. It takes 5 minutes once you have them picked. Brussels sprouts. I don't know about these Brussels sprouts. I've grown Brussels sprouts before with a lot of success in my climate. But they ripened and then they rotted. And I don't want to pick Brussels sprouts before they've had frost, like a good hard frost, because Brussels sprouts tend to be really bitter and then they sweeten up a lot after a good frost. And I don't want to just eat them because they're ready. If they're going to be bitter, you know, I want to enjoy them. But they're all like rotting off on the bottom. I've been trying to pick the rotten ones off. And luckily they're growing more at the top. So we'll still have Brussels sprouts from this plant. I want it to get cold already so we can enjoy this kind of food. There's some more Brussels sprouts, but these ones are not forming tight heads. I don't know why. So yeah, it's been an interesting Brussels sprout year. I think that based on how quickly things grew this year, I'll probably start them later next year. We've got cauliflower back here. Fall cauliflower. As I've said, fall gardening is really hard in my climate, and any little win you get is a huge win. What else? The marigolds just took over this bed. This was the tomato, basil, marigolds, and some other things bed, but they self-seeded, so this whole thing is just self-seeded marigolds. So we have, like, wow, these basils are survivors. Wow. They came back from the brink. We also have bindweed in all of these beds. The property was infested. And it's been really impossible to weed when the beds are this thick with growth. But I'm thinking that the thick growth will help to crowd out the potential bindweed. The strawberry bed is going to need another light mulching with straw before winter. I've thinned it, and I guess that's the whole potager. Oh, my coffee. The chickens are doing well. They have entirely too much garden scraps. They're gonna have diarrhea. But they're lovely. They're molting, so we're not getting any eggs. I have a 7-year-old hen in there who's now broody for the first time in her life. So they're giving me a lot of headaches, but also they're wonderful. We're down to 5 dozen eggs in our extra fridge, and it makes me nervous. 5 dozen eggs, that's it? But it's because I don't want to ever have to buy them from the store. And I know that in winter, they slow way down. I'm lucky if I get 2 eggs a week in the winter. This is Robin. She's the friendliest broody hen I've ever had. Usually if you try to pet a broody hen, they bite you. She's our oldest hen. She's 7. We got her when she was 6 weeks old. My daughter's best friend kind of thing. She has never laid well. She's an Americana, so she lays little blue eggs. She's always kind of had issues with production, but she's our friend. And she's broody. And for anyone who doesn't know, a broody hen is a hen who's trying to raise babies. But we don't have a rooster, which means none of our eggs are fertile, which means she can sit on eggs until the cows come home and nothing will happen. So it's really not ideal to have a broody hen in my setup. But I'm too lazy to break her. Not lazy, I am too busy to worry about trying to get her off of the nest every hour. Our raspberries have been wonderful finally. Oh, I'm very covered in cobwebs right now. Yellow raspberries. We can fill a pint every 2 days, sometimes more than that. I will often come out with the kids first thing in the morning and we'll just pick berries. The problem is I want to pick them for my daughter's lunch and they just eat them all. There's a fruit fly. Those guys will end up putting little worms in the raspberries. Also, I shouldn't be walking on here because I've got another flush of mushrooms. Those are wine cap mushrooms. We've eaten a couple of them from here. Looks like somebody else has taken a nibble on some of them. It is definitely becoming a food forest vibe with the diversity of food that we're getting from this little spot. And, oh yeah, we have sapecitos here, which is a summer squash. And we've decided we're just not eating through them anymore. We have a bunch in our fridge. The kids don't like squash, so it's just us. So I'm leaving them to ripen more, and then they can be little porch decor for fall. And then we can eat them some other way maybe, or give them to the chickens through the winter. These are our mushroom totems. This is also a wine cap patch right here in all this wood chip. Oh, there's one. Look at that beauty. The squirrels really enjoy eating them, and so do little pill bugs, decomposers, but I don't mind. Just brush them off and eat the rest yourself. There's enough to go around. Maybe it doesn't make the most perfect Instagram pictures when your mushrooms are half chewed, but who cares? They're delicious. In those Costco bags is the totems. Are the totems. Sometimes my grammar in the morning is questionable. We did a little video on the mushroom totem building. I have footage to put into a YouTube video, but I don't have the time. It needs to be more properly added. I'm hoping that this morning's little tour can be more of a one-cut thing. But essentially we just took some logs, some of the cut down Manitoba maple, hardwood from our backyard, and we stacked the logs on top of each other, squishing mycelium in between the logs, covered it up, and maybe next year, maybe the year after, we will get mushrooms. And once we get them, they will keep coming, hopefully, for a number of years. There are some mushroom logs leaning against a fence. Hard to see. How do I put my hand there? Right there and right there. They have plugs in them, So little wooden dowels with mushroom spawn, and those are oysters. And maybe there's a shiitake in there too, mostly oysters. Another totem. There's 4 totems in total. I love the Virginia creeper at the back of our property. It is a native species, a native vine, and so it can grow here all at once. A lot of people don't like that it is aggressive, it spreads, but we have this road behind us that I wish wasn't there, and so any plant life that wants to fill in this space, as long as it's not invasive, can go for it. We planted these eastern white cedars when we first moved in. Some of them are taller than my head already 2 years later. I just really want them to bush out a little bit. They're a little spindly, so not as helpful for us in the winter when the deciduous trees die back. But the more vines that are on the fence there, the better. I love this view of the garden. This is where I stand to push the kids on the swing, and we just look down at everything. Oh, it's lovely. We're lucky to have some wild grapes growing on our property, and I've been sort of helping them along, cultivating them a little bit, clearing stuff out of the way for them to grow. And this year they've put on probably more than I've ever seen on them in terms of the fruit, but still not enough for me to feel like I should be picking a whole bunch for jams. It's a pretty yummy snack for the wildlife. It's the next day. I realized I forgot to sign off or make any kind of an ending to that video. But there are actually a couple other things that I could show that I haven't showed all summer, I don't think. And one of those things is the eucalyptus. This eucalyptus was started from seed in, I think, January or maybe February. And it is taller than me. Well, it's growing out of a pot, but it's pretty tall. Don't mind the sweet potato in the pot with it that is super wilted. I can't keep it watered. Also, there's this eucalyptus, which just didn't grow quite as big, but still perfectly sufficient. And I've already taken some clippings from it to add to a bouquet for a friend. Also, don't mind the dead nasturtium in there. Everything is coming to a close. Something else that I'm really excited about is my lemon tree. I was at the garden center looking for some potting soil. They had these on sale. They were half off. It's a Meyer lemon. It looked like it was really healthy. I've given it a spray down with insecticidal soap before I bring it in the house. Yeah, pretty pumped. I've always wanted a citrus tree. My cats are going to eat it inside, so I have to come up with a solution to keep it safe. But I'm excited. And then this is my bay laurel. I have gone through maybe 4. This might be my 4th bay laurel. I keep killing them. I don't know why, but you know, the trick with looking like a good gardener is just to have a lot of plants, because you're gonna kill some and you just keep getting more. I've also used some pots for fall sowing because my gardens were full. These are beets. They didn't really take off, kind of spotty germination in there. Still really small, but we'll see what happens. There's still a little bit of time for them to grow more. This little patch is my gardener's embarrassment. I planted a bunch of bush beans here for like later in the summer. I planted them and I had a net over them, but they just weren't really producing. I wasn't getting beans on them and I was tired of the net being here. So I took the net off, and within a couple days the bunnies had eaten every single bean plant. Put them all around the outside of this triangle space. And then after the bunnies ate the plants down, they started pumping out like last effort beans. So but the bugs are eating them, and there's only like a little handful of them, and I have a larger bean patch that's providing us with all we need. It just makes this a really embarrassing looking corner. Also, we've got a little honey nut squash here that has powdery mildew, and the squash are very, very tiny, you know. I honestly think that has a lot to do with the soil quality. The soil in this bed right here was a cheap triple mix that I ordered from a local garden center. Not my favorite garden center. I ordered it like 2 years ago, and it never really grew things that well. It did do a good round of beets, I guess, at one point. I've put a bunch of decomposing straw on top of it to try and feed the soil, so maybe next year will be a little bit better. But the soil in my raised beds was premium triple mix. I sourced that soil after like interviewing multiple companies, getting the nutrient profiles of their triple mix. And it has like broken down wood chip compost in it, and so, or tree bark compost. Like, it's a really, really rich, good soil, and I paid more for it, but the raised beds performed outstandingly this summer. So the moral of the story is you can always buy soil to make your garden grow if you've got the money. If you don't have the money, you can always grow your soil. It just takes time. Anyway, I think it's time for coffee on this second day of this short video. I hope that everyone out there is enjoying the last of their garden. If you haven't already had frost, I know a lot of people are already putting their gardens to bed and things are already wilted into a brown mush because you've had so much frost. But if you have anything left to hold on to in the garden, I hope that you can do so and just soak it in before winter settles in.